Hi, and thank you for joining me here again. Today I'd like to talk to you about self-defense. This is something that I've been seeing quite a bit of online. These self-defense tutorials and how-tos and whole channels devoted to teaching you self-defense. Now, why am I putting that in quotes? It's because self-defense is not a skill. It's a defense in court. Self-defense is a justification for committing a crime. Usually that crime is assault, manslaughter, or homicide. Then it's up to the court to decide if you were justified or not in your committing that crime under the guise of self-defense. Again, it's not a skill, it's court defense. That's it. And anybody who tries to tell you that it is a skill, they're trying to sell you something. Usually it's some kind of workout plan or a subscription service, or a lot of times it's some gadget, some tool. It's a lot of muck out there in the self-defense world, and then a lot of it's just people trying to take your money. They don't care about you or what happens to you. If they had your 1995 right now, they'd be better off, and they think you'd be too. Now, I do believe that people should learn how to defend themselves. Learning a martial art like Muay Thai or boxing or wrestling, karate, taekwondo, things like that, they can go a long way to making you feel more confident and more secure if you do find yourself alone at night in a bad part of town. But using those skills, they should be your last resort. You shouldn't go into a situation looking for a fight. That's not self-defense. That's assault. Your first option, first thing that should come to your mind when you find yourself in a bad situation is, can I run away? First and foremost, can I run away? Can I get out of Dodge right now? If you can, do it. It's not about your pride. It's not about your ego. It doesn't matter if some lunatic who's looking to beat you up or mug you or whatever thinks that you're a coward. You're not. You're just doing what a reasonable person would do. It's about survival, and in that self-defense situation in court, that's what a jury's going to be looking at. What would a reasonable person do if they were in that same situation? And if there was an opportunity for you to get the heck out of Dodge, run as fast as you could to that convenience store and hide in the back, it's what they're going to be considering. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you can't get away, my next tip for you would be to make as much noise as possible. Now, I've had two different scenarios in my life where I found myself in a bad part of town and different people have pulled guns on me. I did the same thing in both those situations, but it's up to you on how you're going to respond. So use common sense and use your logic to make the best possible decision for yourself. I announced as loudly as I could that this person has a gun pointed at me. And both the people that were holding a gun did the same thing. They looked around. First thing they did was look around. And that to me told me that they were concerned, that they knew that what they were doing was wrong and they might get caught just because I'm yelling at the top of my voice that they have a gun. It's getting other people involved. It's the same kind of thing as getting yourself to a business or some place where there are other people congregating. If there are other people around, you're a lot less likely to be attacked. It's just how it happens. But bear in mind that if somebody does have a gun pointed at you, you should consider that gun to be loaded. Every gun that you ever come across should be treated as though it's loaded. And whatever a person is pointing a gun at, you should assume that they are intending to kill that thing. So those should be your base assumptions at all times when it comes to guns. That's basic gun safety. You will learn that at any gun safety course anywhere anywhere. Now, if they have a weapon pointed at you and they demand your wallet, watch, and wedding ring, just hand it over. Simple as that. It's just stuff. Stuff comes and goes. You can replace it. If it's really important, you can replace it. You can't replace yourself. You can't replace your spouse if they're demanding your wife's purse or something like that. Hand it over. It's fine. You're more likely to survive that situation if you just comply. But where you should not comply is if they try to get you into their car or into their van or truck or whatever it is. Because statistically speaking, if you end up in somebody's vehicle, you aren't going to survive that situation. So that's one of those times where you should look deep inside yourself and make a decision based on what's best for you. But if it were me in that situation, I would much rather die fighting than get into somebody's car and potentially suffer a much worse fate. But that's just me. Make your own decision. You are, after all, responsible for what happens to you. Now, the situations I explained are rare. They are not things that happen to everybody. It's very rare that you'll ever be in a situation like that. But it's still important to run through hypotheticals. Go through those thought experiments periodically. What would you do if somebody did X? What would you do if you were in this situation? Things like that. So that way you can start to build a plan and get some idea of what you would do in those situations. So if you ever are in that situation, you aren't starting from square one. Now, you may still freeze. It's entirely possible that, that fight, flight, or freeze response, you freeze. But if you do your best to stack the deck in your favor beforehand, you're going to have a lot better outcomes, by and large. So what I mean by stacking the deck for yourself, I mean get in shape, work out, be able to run, be able to sprint, learn a martial art, like I said before, to have some kind of basis to defend yourself. Plan ahead. And planning ahead isn't just, those thought experiments. It's much more than that. It's making the decision to carry pepper spray with you and buying the pepper spray that has the UV stuff in it. So if you ever do need to use it, that person can be identified in the ER because, not only are they blinded by the capsaicin, but their whole face is UV colored when the police stop by. So it's carrying a first aid kit and learning how to use it and being able to use it when the pressure's on. It's letting people know where you are and when you plan on being home and where you're going. If more people, or if at least somebody knows, that you are planning on being home by 10 o'clock and you were going to be going to this place, if you don't show up at 10 o'clock, somebody knows automatically something might be wrong, and they can follow up, and they can start to do things to make sure that if you are in that bad situation, that someone's going to be responding to it sooner rather than later. That last part I wanted to touch on. The last part that I wanted to touch on rather is how to walk when you are alone. This is something that I see people fail at constantly. I live in a city and I take a lot of walks, and I see people doing the same types of things and making the same types of mistakes. And I can see that the reason that they're doing these things is because they are uncomfortable, and they're going to their safe place, their comfort place, and that place is usually right here. This is a problem. This is a great big giant problem, because if a predator is going to attack, they're going to wait until you're most vulnerable. And I don't know what's more vulnerable than being distracted, looking down at a phone, both hands on it or one hand on it, and the phone cost a whole bunch of money that, you're going to be a lot less likely to drop if something were to happen. So if there's a predator around, they're going to be waiting for this. They're going to take advantage of this. So what should you do instead? Keep your phone in your pocket or in your purse. Keep your hands free. Keep your eyes up and looking around. Pay attention to your surroundings. Who's around you? What stores are nearby? What street are you on? What street are you passing? Make a mental note of all these things and just keep scanning your surroundings. Look people in the eye. If you are more aware of what's going on around you, you're less likely to be attacked. And you're less likely to find yourself in one of those bad situations. It could still happen, but you're arming yourself to be able to do more to get out of it later on. If you pay attention to what's around you and someone does attack you, you already know that I can run in this direction and there's a convenience store. And, I've been here before and they're open until 2 a.m. and it's only 1:30 now. So I can break loose and I can run away and get to that safe place. I'm on, Minton Street. And if I head east just an eighth of a mile, I'm on 16th Street. And there you go. You are situationally aware, and you have a plan starting to form in your mind already on where you could go, to where there are more people and more cars, where you might be able to flag someone down. These are the types of things that you should be doing. You don't need to worry about jamming your keys in between your fingers, or having somebody on speed dial ready to hit the call button. If something's going to happen to you, it's going to be over more than likely before the police can respond to it. It's going to be over more than likely before your friend even picks up the phone. It's going to be over before you have time to do anything. So if you're just worried about what's on your phone, then you aren't worried about what's going on around you. It's staying present, staying in the moment. And I realize how kind of messed up it is that we have to make videos like these, and we have to talk about these situations. And these are situations that men and women both face, but women face a whole lot more than men do. I mentioned it in my last video, obviously not the poetry video, but the Don't Harass Women video. Women have to think about what's going on around them a lot more, and have to come up with these self-defense strategies, and often end up the victims of either the self-defense industry or attackers. So I hope this little primer gave you some information to mull over, some things to think about and consider for the future. And I hope it is some benefit to you. Now there's a lot more that I want to talk about in this regard, but I could be here all day. So I'm planning on breaking this up into a few different videos, so we can talk more and get a little bit more in depth with this later on. So that's all I had for you right now. Please like, subscribe, and interact conscientiously in the comments section below. May peace and blessings be on you and those you love. Stay safe, and good night.